Today we talk about the power of using your God-given platform. We focus on the importance of thinking generationally and an impactful update on the war in Ukraine and how Crossroads Cares is making a difference. It all starts right now.
Welcome and thank you so much for joining us for another edition of 100 Huntley Street. We're glad you're here. Yesterday, you and I were talking about superheroes and we were talking about, real life heroes. And as I was getting ready and I was putting on my jacket today, I was reminded that my father-in-law, Clyde Williamson, he was actually David Maine's first ever employee on 100 Huntley Street, if you can believe that.
The first.
I don't want to say how many years ago it was, but it was a long, long time ago. And he was clearing out some stuff and he found this pin that David Maine's gave to him. And so I thought it would be nice to represent it by putting it on my jacket because, David, Clyde, these are the heroes of the faith who went before us to lay a foundation so that we could have a platform to be able to talk about Jesus every single day on Huntley Street.
That's amazing. And David always used to wear a jacket that color with that pin. I remember that.
Oh,
Not
really?
From quite as far back as
Okay.
that. But I do remember that. And, speaking of heroes,
Yeah.
David, of course, one of my heroes. But we've seen some other heroes on the news recently. The Paralympics,
Yeah.
of course, happening in Paris. Now, there's two amazing Canadians that we wanted to point out who are people of faith, who are, shouting, kind of speaking loud of their faith on that platform. So at 15, Katarina Roxton, she was the youngest swimmer to represent Canada in the 2008 Beijing Olympics. And then she scored gold at Rio in the 100-meter breaststroke and was part of the team that clinched the bronze in the 4x100 freestyle relay in Tokyo in 2020. So she's got a lot of experience. Started at 15. Can you even imagine?
No, and she's using her platform for the Lord. Here's a quote, something that she said about her participation. She says, "We are all in positions that can change the world, so use the abilities that God has blessed you with to change someone's world for the better." What an inspirational quote from a 15-year-old. So not just overcoming any physical challenges that she might have, but she's using that platform to declare who God is. And then we have another Canadian that's being featured, last name Gagné, which means winner, which really makes sense because they're all winners. And they what's her name here? Priscilla, I'm so sorry. She uses her platform as well, and this is what she says on the national stage. She says, "I'm a child of the Most High God. I do judo, but that's not who I am. I'm not a judo fighter. I am a child of God." And again, I love that people like this, young people like this, are using their platform to declare God on a program that the whole world is watching. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. We all kind of have the opportunity to have a platform now because of social media, because of YouTube, whatever you're using. But, what are you using it for? Are you using it for your fame, for your platform?
That's right.
Or are you using it for something that can change the world, that can change people's hearts and minds? And honestly, every time I go to post, I think about okay, why am I posting this? What is the value to somebody? And I think that's a challenge for all of us, right? We all have that 15 minutes of fame possibility, but what is fame for fame's sake?
Yeah, well, again, it's about using the platform. And later on in the show, you're going to be talking to Ed Dickson about what's happening in Ukraine. I know it's going to be a wonderful conversation. But now, it's time to watch this and to reflect on everyday struggles that some very special people are going through.
Neen Muchi. I'm from Bay St. George. My relatives came from Flat Bay area, but really all over Mi'kma'ki, my ancestors are. Our upbringing was fantastic, 12 brothers and sisters. We played and fought and got along well together, 7 brothers and 5 sisters. As we grew up, we got to go help with the gardens or help with the hunting, with the fishing, and Dad would always make it fun so it didn't seem like it was work. We never thought that we were poor because my dad was such a great provider, but there was poorer families around us, so that made us feel like, but there was always the helping, and giving and sharing that happened in the community. We never grew up involved in Mi'kmaq culture. In fact, our ancestors had to deny who they were just to be able to have a better life for themselves and their families. I can't deny my ancestors from Ireland, and my French ancestry. Predominantly, on my mom's side and on my dad's side was Mi'kmaq. It was probably when I was about 18 years old, that we were allowed to even say or admit who we were as a people, and then to try to figure out what that meant. We're still in recovery, We're still trying to figure out who we are. We don't have a 100% Mi'kmaq person here on the island, I don't think. During my time in the Canadian Armed Forces, I got involved with a lot of incredible teachers and elders on the reserves and in the communities. And they saw something in me that I really didn't see in myself. They helped mentor me and develop me to become responsible for ceremonies and environment for our people, which is really hard to blend coming back home, because back home they were also recovering, what it was to be Mi'kmaq, and been a wonderful journey, and it still continues. The Mi'kmaq were a proud, honorable people. We're resilient people, but we're a hurt people. Here on the island, first contact for our relatives, the Beothuk or the Beothuk people, they were killed off. For the Mi'kmaq people that were left behind, they had to either move back to Atlantic Canada regions, or they had to assimilate into the culture of the newcomers. So it's a really, really difficult time for us, but we're trying. We're trying to do this in respect to all the other atrocities, the missing and murdered Aboriginal women, which is still going on today. The struggles between communities for power and money. A lot of the things that take us away from really what our true identity should be. We need help, we need strong leadership, we need prayers. We're not that far along our journey of recovery yet. My hope is in the children. There's more children dancing, learning the language, coming to ceremonies, are interested, in all the aspects of our culture. I've got a lot of hope that we will be able to fish and hunt and sustain ourselves, and decisions will be made by our leadership with consideration of the 7 generations that are yet to come. And if we can grasp that and those things, that I think that we will succeed in handing on a far better community than the one we inherited.
Oh man, there are so many things I absolutely loved about that piece. First of all, let's talk about the landscape of Newfoundland. That was absolutely stunning and beautiful.
It is gorgeous.
It's the only province I haven't been to.
Oh, I think we need someone to invite Joe to come speak there. Absolutely.
Invite Joe Amaral to your church in Newfoundland.
It is so beautiful. It's just the coastline and the rocks. Oh,
the people, the food. So that was stunning. Yeah, that was amazing. But just hearing this brother speak, Muchi, talk about the experiences of his people on the East Coast there, and he said something that was really unique. He said that the elders, when they get together, it's not just thinking about now. It's not just making decisions that are going to affect that generation. They're thinking 7 generations ahead. Like, that's absolutely amazing. And it reminded me of an African proverb that says, a wise man sits under a tree whose shade, no, he plants a tree whose shade he'll never sit under. So again, thinking ahead to the future. And I love that kind of generational thinking. And that's part of what Huntley Street is doing here too, right? Not just for not just for the now, but for your kids, for your grandkids, and your great-grandchildren. That's why we're here.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. It's an investment that you make in this nation. It's an investment that you make in people that you'll never, ever meet, but you are impacting their lives. And it's just never been more real to me now than after these years of being here, that when someone is reached to the prayer line or when someone is reached to the show, that is something that you are doing, that you are reaching them. So I hope you hear that today. I hope you feel encouraged today. And more encouragement is coming our way with Pastor Robbie Symons. He's talking this week about why I must abide. Here's Robbie.
Hugely important theme this week, the power of abiding. Why must we abide in the Lord Jesus Christ? I hope you've been with us. If not, go back, catch up, and then stay with us the rest of this week. Such good stuff from Jesus here in John 15. So why must we abide? Well, because an apple tree bears apples, the fruit of apples, an orange tree bears the fruit of oranges, and a Christ follower must bear the fruit of the Lord Jesus Christ. This is what we're learning this week. No exceptions, no exceptions. So let's get our outline up on the screen. What have we learned thus far? Why must I abide? Because Jesus is the one and only source of my life. Jesus is it. You got to be with Jesus because he is everything. And secondly, because Jesus is the only possible way that I will bear fruit. Again, so true. How do we know? Jesus tells us, John 15:5. Jesus says, I'm the vine, you're the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. The key word there, of course, in this verse and in this principle is the word abide. That word abide is so, so important. It means to remain in. It means to stay in. It means to draw your life from. Whoever remains in me, Jesus says. Whoever draws their life from me, Jesus says, he or she it is that bears much fruit. So important. This also brings us to context. Let's look at verse 4 now. Why does Jesus say this? Verse 4, abide in me and I in you, as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine. Listen, clarity. Neither can you bear fruit unless you abide in me. Again, so simple in some ways, but so profound. Notice, loved ones here, notice. The branch does not live outside the vine. The branch lives by the vine. You see that? The branch does nothing on its own. The branch must be attached to the vine to draw sap and nutrients and life and vitality. The branch has no chance unless it is fully attached to the vine, the stem, which is Jesus Christ. No leaves, no buds, no flowers, no fruit. We must abide in Jesus Christ if we are going to bear fruit. I also want you to think about this. A branch can do nothing to add to its existence. The branch is entirely dependent upon, again, the stem that is attached to. So listen, we don't produce fruit for Jesus Christ on our own. We ultimately can't produce fruit for Christ on our own. We produce fruit as our branch is attached to Jesus Christ, and the power of Jesus flows through the branch to bear fruit. Make sense? Again, it's really important for us. A lot of people think if I try harder, if I go for religious effort, if I have external behavior, if I focus on religion about what I do, no, it's all wrong. It's all wrong. Not about religion, what we do. It's what Jesus Christ has done, his power in us, flowing through us to bear fruit in our lives. This is why we must abide. If we do not abide, remain in him, love him, seek him, worship him, read his word, pray, serve in the church in terms of being with other people to be encouraged. If we do not abide, we will not bear fruit. Again, this is why Jesus said in verse 8. In verse 8, he says this. He says, again, by this my Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit, and so prove to be my disciples. Wow. I must abide to bear fruit. I bear fruit to prove I'm his disciple. I must abide to bear fruit, and I bear fruit to prove I'm actually a true disciple. Prayer Center is open. Call us right now. Let us love you. Come back again as we continue to dig into this awesome truth of abiding in Jesus.
Wow, amen. I love this whole concept that Pastor Robbie is talking about. I just want to take a moment and say we are so thankful that Robbie is part of this ministry. And I know he's encouraged a lot of you with this great, solid Bible teaching. I love this whole idea of abiding in Christ, being connected to Jesus, who's the vine. You know, I've been doing a lot of research recently. I'm writing a new book about the Greek mythology that existed at the time of Jesus and how that impacted the people. And one of the things that I learned about was that there was a Greek god, remember, this is all mythological, called Dionysus, who was the god of the vine. And so there were temples and shrines built to him that were just engulfed in these beautiful, golden vines. And in the context of that, in the shadow of that, Jesus says, hey, I'm the true vine. He's not the true vine. Don't follow him, follow me. So I love this whole idea that when we're grafted and connected to him, that he is the vine that he grounds us. And he's the root that we must be connected to. And when we're connected to him, we draw strength from him. We're given a promise from God, and the promise isn't that life will be problem-free. I wish it was, but that's not the promise. In fact, the opposite is true. He says you will have troubles in this life. But what's his promise? It's this. It's his presence. He says, I will be with you in the storm. Maybe the storms will come and they'll feel overwhelming at times, but I'm gonna be with you. And so what does it look like during these difficult times? What does that peace feel like? What does that look like? Well, right now, Cheryl is going to speak to someone who's going to remind us of what holding on to the promises of God looks like in times of war. Here's Cheryl with a very special guest.
The war in Ukraine shows no sign of abating after 2.5 years, and people there continue to suffer terrible losses. But our amazing partners continue to serve, give out much-needed resources, and bring encouragement. One of them joins me today, Ed Dickson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Cheryl. It's great to be here. It's an honor.
It's so great to see you, and you've just come back from a month in Ukraine. So I think the longer you're there, the more chances there are that something could happen to you. So I so admire that. Tell me a little bit about how people are doing there 2.5 years in.
We had a phenomenal trip. I can't even exaggerate how much it impacted us. I go every other month, and every trip is just, it really changes my perspective. I traveled with my wife and my daughter this time. We had...
Your 7-year-old daughter.
Yes.
You took her there in a
Yes.
war zone.
Yes.
Wow.
And I don't know, it was just like, it's part of our hope to keep our family with the understanding that, we are moving back soon. We will be able to move back full time soon. We're keeping that dream alive that the war will end and that there will be a future for us as a mission. But right now, we spent the entire time, the 3 weeks, traveling to meet our volunteers, our workers, our churches, hundreds of people now who are working with us and all over the country, and being able to encourage them. And my message to them was, people in Canada, Christians in Canada, are praying for you. They're willing to help. They're doing what they can to give us the ability to reach them, to tell them. And it was just, it was amazing to be with them. They're the real heroes. In the past 2 months, when I was there, we sat with everyone together, and we realized that in the past 2 months, they've delivered desperately needed groceries to over 7,000 families in 2 months.
Wow.
And altogether, just a rough estimate, about 2,500 people prayed with our team and accepted Christ, committed their lives to serving God. And so we're seeing this amazing revival that is happening and continuing to happen in Ukraine. And I can't say thank you enough to your viewers, to people, to God for the provision, to be able to do that, to be the answer, the hands and feet of God to those people right now who are really struggling.
Yeah, I think if there's one word that sticks with me every time I talk to people who live there or people like you who go there, is that people are weary. Mm-hmm. There's that hope in the first 3 months, it would be over 6 months, 1 year, and it just drags on. How does it land with people when they hear that people from the West still care, still haven't forgotten them?
It's phenomenal. I think it's hard for us to even imagine, that someone in another country is sending food for us or sending resources for us. But for them, they told me when I was there, they said, please tell the people in Canada, thank them for us, thank them for helping And I said, I will do everything I can. And here I am, just really saying thank you to everyone for helping. While we were there, one of the hotels where, it's a hotel and conference center called Aurora in Krivorog was hit by a missile. And it really hit home for us because not long ago we had a conference there with pastors and our leaders right in that hotel. And, it really, every once in a while something like that happens that strikes home personally. But every day, missiles are hitting Ukraine. Every night, lives are being lost. And it's just a constant thing. Now they've hit probably, they say roughly 75% of Ukraine's electric power has been knocked out. And winter is coming. And so it just mind-boggling, it just keeps going on and on. Like a dripping faucet, it just continues, this war continues to wreak destruction. And the amazing thing is that in the middle of this storm, Jesus comes, and we've seen it again everywhere I travel. Like I see him doing the unexpected, like miracles. It's like in the midst of the storm, he comes walking on the water, and he holds out this amazing opportunity to people to maybe not find peace on earth, but to find peace with God, to find peace that lasts for eternity and change lives. I'll never forget this past trip. We walked into one church, and I walked in. It was completely black inside, and as my eyes adjusted after we got inside, I realized the church was packed with people. Like, it was just packed. And they were sitting in the dark, but there was one door that they could open up just to let enough light in so that once your eyes adjusted, you could see. And there they were, praising God. And they had the entire service. They didn't stop the service because they didn't have electricity. They continued on. And it just showed the resilience of these people.
And the hunger for God
yes.
in the midst of their suffering.
And what an opportunity for us, to be the light, to encourage them, to support them at a time like this, right?
And what are the needs right now, that you're trying to help fill as our partner? What do people need?
So we're shipping containers right now from Chatham, Ontario. We've got everything from food, school supplies, blankets, coats, everything like that. We're going out with groceries. Like, we're going right into the war zones, right in where missiles are coming in. And sometimes we have to stand on a certain side of a building, so that the missiles, because they generally come from one direction. And our workers are going right in there every day, We go over there once in a while, but they're going in there every day and taking food to people, taking medicine to people, reaching these people who are not leaving those areas. And I'll talk to them sometimes. I'll say, why don't you leave? Like you can go. You have children. And they're like, where are we going to go? Who's going to take care of our house? Who's going to, watch everything that we've built up? And it's heart-wrenching to know that, they choose almost to stay in many of those cases. But even right now, refugees are moving into our churches. Right as I'm speaking right now, refugees are moving in from Pokrovsk and Mirnograd and all these areas that are being hit right now. And it's continuing. It's not stopping. Even though it's not on the news all the time, it's continuing on, and we need to not give up, to continue on.
Yeah, I think that's been the hard thing, is that it is out of the headlines. The world moves on. Things are happening. People, are weary. They want to see some sort of resolution. But I have such a firm conviction that we must not stop, that history will judge us for how we stood with Ukraine in the face of this evil and this aggression and this invasion.
Amen.
And so, here at Crossroads Cares, it's really important for us to stand like people like you who are risking your lives, bringing your family there, wanting to move back, caring for people, being the hands and feet of Jesus. And I want to invite you right now who are watching this, if God is putting Ukraine on your heart, if you, like us here, like Ed, have been grieving for the losses that people are experiencing and wanting to see God at work. I'm telling you right now, he is at work, and you can be part of that. We need you to pray, first of all. Prayer is the most important thing. Pray for Ed's safety. Pray for his team. Pray for all of our partners there. The second thing is we need funds. We can, Ed can only do what he has in his hand. The money that he's given, he can only do. And that takes funds. And so this is one way that you can say to Ukraine, God is with you and you are not alone. Please give us a call right now, 1-800-265-3100. You can give online at crossroads.ca/Ukraine. Anything you can do will make a difference for people there, and let them know they're not forgotten. And Ed, you are not forgotten. And I can't thank you enough for all you do. We're so privileged to partner with you. We appreciate your heart and your commitment to this nation. And I know God is moving in part because of you and your team. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Cheryl. God is doing great things.
Where people were dying.
Recently, I lost a child that got an infection from that water. Unfortunately, he passed on.
They really are devastated in terms of what happens to them.
It's a lot of heartbreak. It's a lot of exhaustion from people. Thank you on behalf of the people who are going through incredible suffering during this time.
Please, help us.
I'm so excited I decided to carry this child and come and witness. See with my own eyes if really we are going to have safe water.
We have stories to tell that'll help others understand us. Crossroads is able to help with that.
When you give, you are giving life.
It is so significant. It really is a matter of life and death, and you are making the difference.
Do you ever feel hesitant when it comes to sharing your faith? This month, Crossroads wants to help you talk about your beliefs with confidence and joy. We're pleased to offer the book, Each One, Reach One, Everyday Ways You Can Shine God's Light by award-winning artist Babby Mason.
Don't worry about how it comes out. There's something about kindness that tears down walls. It makes a person's heart vulnerable, and they are looking for a lifeline.
This inspiring, interactive book is perfect for those longing to share their God story with others. Find your unique style of talking about Jesus and share your faith with excitement.
And when they're looking for a lifeline, I give them a lifeline. When they express their need, I share my faith.
Request this ministry offer with a donation of $40 or more, or when you become a new monthly partner. Call 1-800-265-3100 or visit crossroads.ca/shine.
I love being a part of this team for so many reasons. I love everyone here in the studio and in the building that we get to work with. But I really love what Crossroads is a part of and what it's doing globally, and how we are using this platform that God has given us to reach out and help people around the world. And that conversation with Ed was just so meaningful and beautiful. He talked about his eyes adjusting to the room. He didn't mention it's because of rolling blackouts because of the war. They're constantly, losing power. And that's just a common thing during these times. And so, and another thing about Ed, he doesn't even know that he's brave, right? He just says, I'm going back to Ukraine. And people say, oh, you're so brave. And he's like, what are you talking about? This is where God calls me to go.
That's right.
The adage is that love is blind. And he doesn't see the dangers. He goes because he loves the people and he wants to be with them. And I love that we're helping him. And I think it would be cool, to get a generator for a church like that, to help out with the groceries, with the food outreach. How can people give? Because it's important that you give. You might think, what's my $20 do? What's my $50 do? It does a lot. So how can people give, Cheryl?
Yeah, absolutely. You can call 1-800-265-3100. You can go online at crossroads.ca/Ukraine. You can pray. And I agree with you. I tell our partners all the time, you shouldn't go out into the field, because if you go, what's going to happen to the mission? You're the leader. And they're like, no, my team is going. People are suffering. I have to be there. And I can't talk them out of it, any of them. So what the incredible commitment that our partners have to make a difference is the love of God in their hearts. You see it in Ed, the joy and the love, and it's amazing. So thanks so much for partnering with us. Have a great rest of your day.
Whatever your platform is, use it for God's glory. Just want to get that in there.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a supporter-funded nonprofit organization and member of the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities. Thanks to faithful people like you, we are able to continue producing 100 Huntley Street. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R4M2, or visit crossroads.ca to learn more about our programs.